Growing up, I really wasn't around weed all that much. It wasn't something that was very prevalent in my life or I just was constantly around. I grew up fairly sheltered, if I'm being honest. It was only after I got to high school when I was offered my first ever edible, and it was by somebody that I really never expected to use substances in general. He was pretty much a straight edge up until we got into high school. His life went down a trajectory that would have definitely not happened had he stuck with the right people. And so I just kind of wanted to make a video looking at getting smacked objectively and make a pros and cons list for people that have never used the substance before, because a lot of people, including myself at times, make weed out to be a lot better than it actually is, when in reality, for every upside there's like an equal downside. And I don't want to like frame this as if like weed is gonna ruin your life or like it's bad for you or something, because I smoke pretty much every day, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And like it's important to have a good perspective on like what a substance is and what it can do to your life before you really dive into it, especially because a lot of people who do start smoking end up becoming frequent users, and without realizing the problems that can come up with smoking every day or smoking frequently, it can kind of get overwhelming really quickly. And I should probably mention something about how this video is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice in any way. So I think the best way to go about this would be to probably start with the pros. And I think the first one would be the stress relief. Getting baked moderately improves any given situation. Now, obviously, there are some exceptions here, but being high makes everything just so much more enjoyable. Like, imagine having a shitty day at work or school, you come home, sit down, load up your favorite game, and just get fucking baked, dude. Some people actually enjoy the ritual of smoking. Like, to them, rolling up the blunt, breaking down the cigar, and like firing it up is just like, that's the best, most relaxing part of somebody's day. I think the next pro would probably be the social aspect or the community. There's a lot of people who smoke weed. Like, you'd be surprised how many friends I've made strictly just off of weed alone. Some of my best memories were just me and my day ones just rolling a fat one in my friend's garage and just firing it up. It's one of those things where if there's like an awkward silence or you just, you know what I mean, it's awkward, you just bust out an eighth, you know, you take out the rolling tray, everything's all good. Everyone's talking all of a sudden. Everyone wants to partake. It's one of those things, you know? The next pro would probably have to be the creative boost. It makes music sound better, food taste better, and sometimes you like visually see things from a new perspective. It's a great way to get the creative juices flowing, and I don't personally create anything other than problems and YouTube videos, but I've heard a lot of people who smoke find it easier to make music, or sometimes they'll just smoke and reorganize their fucking living room. It's not for everybody, but I know some people who get baked and refuse to move, but those people would fall in like the relaxation category of this pros and cons list. And then my last pro would probably be the medicinal use. I'm gonna personally say I don't use weed medicinally. Some people use it to prevent seizures, and that stuff actually like works for them. Although like I can't imagine getting folded with like 3,000 milligrams as like a way to start my day. But it really does work for people. I mean, some people actually do find that weed helps them sleep or helps them with pain management, which also are very real and valid reasons to use the plant. There's like actual science there. And I don't have a degree, so I'm not gonna like explain it, but like it's real. Like that people actually smoke and get medicinal uses out of the plant. It's incredible. But that basically concludes our pro list, so we can start moving into the cons. This is very specific for everyone. This goes for the pros and the cons, but before I get into the cons, because I know there's a lot of diehard smokers out there, a lot of people will agree that these cons do come up fairly often when it comes to using the plant. So moving on, getting into it. So the number one con I would have is probably the loss in mental clarity. I have smoked since freshman year, so like 6, 7, a few years. I'd say closer to a decade. I don't want to sound like an unk dude, but like I've been smoking for quite a while. And one thing I will say almost immediately that I noticed was it made me foggy. My mental clarity was zapped, gone. Not there anymore. I just couldn't think straight. And it's not like I was just retarded or something. I don't even know if I can say that word anymore. But like, it didn't make me stupid. It's almost like putting a blanket over like every thought that I had. Like I knew it was still there and I could make out what it was, but it's just, there was something there. You know what I mean? That made it a little less clear. There's more to it than just like the thought process too. You can't really like function without it sometimes. I know a lot of people who don't want to call it addictive, but if they had to stop, I don't know if they could, if I'm being honest. I've talked about it with a couple of my homies and not a lot of them agree that if they had to stop, it's not chemically addicting, but it's like one of those things where if you don't have any responsibilities for the next few hours and you're kind of at home just chilling, why not smoke? You know what I mean? Like, why not? And it's one of those things that can kind of like spiral out of control really quick. It's one of those things that you just get really used to doing, especially like if it becomes like a routine. You just come home from work, roll a blunt, like I said earlier. And yeah, it's relaxing, but if you do that every day you come home from work, eventually, if you don't want to, don't have the money, maybe you're a little too tired, maybe you're just in a circumstance where it would be inconvenient to smoke, you might find it to be a little bit difficult to stop. Moving on, the paranoia or the anxiety. Some people, when they smoke, they get really anxious. Like the very first time that I ever smoked, I had a great time, or I suppose it was more an edible, but either way, I had a great time up until maybe like 2 or 3 hours into like the high. I can't really remember because it was so long ago and I was just so faded. I kind of immediately went from having a great experience to just being almost in like a psychosis. I don't want to make it sound that bad. It was not anything close to like actual psychosis, but I started flipping out. I was just so overstimulated and like so fucked up. I didn't even know what I was scared of. I just became scared. This goes for any substance. No matter what, you never know how your brain is going to react. Substances are a scary and serious thing. Like that, it is something that should not be taken lightly. Weed is one of those substances where there's a lot of slack kind of given to it. It's important to remember that nobody's ever died from smoking weed. So if you do end up trying it and you do end up having a panic attack, it's important to remember that you are going to be perfectly fine. You just gotta wait it out. A lot of people call it greening out. I just used to call it being a pussy. But at the end of the day, like you'll be fine, dude. It's not a big deal. It's everybody has gone through it. It's just a part of the process of like smoking. But some people will try it and they'll put it down because that really gets to them. And then next would be the dependence. It's like I said before, it's habit forming. Relaxing sober now as somebody who's smoked for so long feels boring, dude. Like I can't really like chill unless I got like a blunt or a cart or like something that like can intoxicate me, because being sober is kind of fucking boring, dude. I can't lie. Like if I have free time, like I said before, I'm gonna light up, and that can cause a real problem for some people. A lot of people, like, they can't control themselves, and so if they have a moment where they probably shouldn't smoke but they can, they will, and it will become a daily use thing for them. Substances is not something to be taken lightly. Like, I really want to stretch that point across. I know this is like a widely accepted substance, but it has repercussions to daily use, just like drinking every day, just like doing blow, dude. Like everything has repercussions. Drinking too much water can kill you, okay? And then that kind of brings us up to our next point, the cost, okay? Pens, carts, buds, wraps, utilities, bro, lighters, all that adds up. It is a lot of money. This shit is not cheap, okay? Like, we're talking, depending on where you're at in the globe, because I think the whole globe is starting to become legalized, but in the United States specifically, where I'm at, all right, state to state, it can vary, all right? Michigan, I have a couple people who drive straight from Illinois to Michigan to get the better prices, because over here in Illinois, not only is it taxed up the ass, but it's already expensive. Just MSRP, base cost, $60 to $80 per gram for a cart. Distillate. I'm not even talking about rocks, diamonds, straight distillate. 1 grammer, 510 thread, you're pulling out $60. Kind of crazy to think about. And of course, with legalization, you have dispensaries that do like the whole point system and everything like that. They make paying for weed a lot better than it used to be. However, it's a lot more expensive than it used to be. I don't have to wait on a dealer for an hour in the middle of a sketchy parking lot, but I have to pay 30% tax. I don't know, man. Me personally, make an educated decision. So this next point that I'm going to bring up as a con is going to be strictly based on you as an individual, but it's going to be your reputation and your self-image. Okay, some people really have a problem with smokers, dude. People's friends, people's significant others, like they don't want to be known as like a lazy stoner, and that image has kind of left society as it's becoming more normalized. It's still something that you might have to deal with yourself. I kind of struggled with a lot of guilt whenever I started using weed a lot more frequently, because it was something that my mother was not very happy about. She's very, very anti-weed. She hates that shit. She hates the smell. She's almost thrown me in rehab before. It's just something that a lot of people are not okay with, and you yourself need to be okay with smoking. If not, like, you're not really missing out on a whole lot. You know, some people really will make this out to be their entire personality, but at the end of the day, some people just don't want to smoke. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want to. So that's okay. Like, depending on how you approach the situation, how you view yourself and your confidence level, don't be ashamed if you don't want to smoke because you don't want to be seen like lazy or a stoner or this and that. Like, there's a lot of nuances to this. Basically, do what you're comfortable with. Make sure that you understand that people are going to have an opinion about you using, and make sure that you're okay with that before you dive head in. And the next and my last point is going to be the legal gray area. It's still not legal if you're under 21, and it's not legal if you're planning on driving or crossing state lines or this and that. There's a lot going on. I have a record, and it's honestly, bro, it's kind of a bullshit record. I could explain it one day in a video, maybe. I probably will at some point, but it's the most bullshit story you'll ever hear in your life. Honestly, bro, drop a like if you want that to be the next video. Let me know. It is so serious, dude. Like, that, it is a drug. It is a substance, okay? Like, if you get that shit on your record, it is going to be, hopefully in the future this is different, but it is going to be looked at as a criminal offense, okay? Yes, you know that you were smoking a little bit of reefer, okay? But when you look at somebody's criminal record and you see something that has to do with drugs or substances, it kind of changes the situation a little bit. But yeah, bro, that basically wraps up the pros and the cons list. If it's something that you want to do, I would just do a little bit of research. Don't get scammed. Don't get laced. Check out my last video if you want to know what getting laced is like. Like the video if you enjoyed this, okay? I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be pretty sick. It like is free and takes a second. If you really want, you could subscribe and then completely forget about this YouTube channel. Either way, it would kind of help me up front. So